Kenya's dairy industry is one of the most important in Africa, and actually it is ranked number 3 with an annual production of between 4 to 5 billion litres every year. But experts say that the country has the capacity to produce about 10 billion litres if the sector is well harnessed. And the question is, what do we need to do to develop and grow milk production in this country, as well as ensure dairy farmers they have money in their pockets? Well, this week on Inside the Government, our conversation revolves around the dairy subsector, and we're talking to the Managing Director of Kenya Dairy Board, Margaret Rugut Kibogy. Thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us this afternoon. One question that people are asking is, why is all of a sudden our milk expensive and it is not readily available in the stores?
Thank you very much for creating time to come and interview us about the dairy sector. And the dairy sector, of course, as you know, Kenya Dairy Board is a regulator in Kenya, and our mandate is to promote, develop the dairy sector. Some of these activities, of course, have been devolved, so we work very closely between the national government and the county government in the area of areas of production. Over the years, we have continuously come up with interventions, various interventions, to ensure that we sustain the production to meet the demand of our milk and milk products in the country. We are also looking at, of course, external, not only looking at the internal markets, we are also looking at the external markets. And we are happy that through various trade meetings, we've been able to establish various markets, not only within, but outside. And when you look at some of the interventions, and we are happy that the ministry, our parent ministry, our State Department of Livestock, has really supported this sector, the dairy sector, in many ways. One of it, of course, is the establishment of the National Laboratory, and it is one of its kind. And we want to look at how we can improve the quality of milk and milk products of our country to ensure that we are competitive, not just internally, and of course externally, to ensure that we grow and our farmers can be able to benefit. And along the dairy value chain, we have the various actors and players can also benefit. We want also our consumers to be able to consume the milk that is safe and is good for consumption. So we have been supported by government of Kenya through various initiatives and programs. One of it, of course, the current one being the National Laboratory. And you'll be looking at, we'll be looking at what that laboratory is doing and how it is supporting the Big Four agenda in areas of food security. So when you look at our sector is rain-fed dependent. And whenever there is, of course, stable rains, we see the increased production. When there's strained rains, like what we are currently experiencing, of course, there's depressed production in the country. But these situations are never permanent, because it is just a short period of time where we see strained production. After we see increased, when the rains come in, of course, we'll see improved production of milk in the country. And of course, you will see even in the various areas that will have issues of milk in the country. At the moment, I wouldn't say that there is scarcity of milk. It's just because of the delayed rains. Usually rains are expected in the month of March, and ordinarily we expect January and February, and of course early weeks of March is usually dry. And the farmers depend on pasture, especially our farmers who are on open grazers. The open grazers usually face challenges during a drought and during the dry spell in the country, because that's when there is, of course, limitation of pasture. There is also limitation of water, and it affects the production and the animals. So that's the reason why you're experiencing this small challenge. But I'm sure in the next few weeks, when we receive rains, that, of course, will be taken care of. We'll be able to have sufficient production in the country.
There has been conversations around, setting up a national milk reserve in this country. And I remember, back in the year 2011, when the country was going through a serious drought, the former president, Kibogy, directed various agencies within the Ministry of Agriculture to come up with a plan on how to set up a national milk reserve in this country. Was this followed through? And if yes, where are we in terms of setting up that facility?
Yes, that facility is in place. This is a facility that is used when we have excess milk in the country. That strategic food reserve, under the strategic food reserve, we mop up excess milk and convert it into powder that will be used during the dry period to reconstitute. Because of the support, the programs that we've had in the dairy sector, and new KCC has been supported in terms of improving their factories. They can be able to support as much as possible. That is when there's need. It will be need basis, depending on how much volumes that are in the sector that particular time. However, government continuously supports whenever there is need to mop up that excess milk in the sector. So we want to encourage our farmers, our dairy farmers, and even investors to invest in this sector, because there is demand for milk and milk products in the country. The consumption is very high, so we want more and more, especially even the youth, to be able to come to this sector to produce more milk for us as a sector, because the market is there. We set a minimum price for the farmers, so the farmer always knows that what the farmer is being paid can never go less than this amount of money. The one above that is free. It is the marketplace itself. But the guaranteed minimum return has already been passed through the 2021 dairy industry regulations, which is very good for the farmer, because as a farmer is equally an investor. When they're investing, they know that this will be my return.
Let's talk about the regulations, that came into force last year. And how, as a regulator, I mean, it is up to you to ensure that the regulations, are followed and implemented to the core. And one of the challenges that you are likely to face is, how are you going to ensure that processors abide by those regulations and pay farmers the minimum reserve price, bearing in mind that one processor in this country controls almost 1/3 of the entire industry?
I would tell you that the sector in that area is very organized, and we have mechanisms. And I would tell you, it has nothing to do with the policy. It is partnership between us as a board and the stakeholders. So every other time when we go to the farmers, farm visits, and going to the processors, we can be able to check if the farmer is being paid what they're expected to pay. And I can tell you for sure that no farmer is being paid below the set price. In fact, we always tell them, if you get less than this, because it is a gazette notice.
How much have you set as a reserve
At the
price
moment,
now?
we set 33, but the farmers are getting up to 50 shillings per litre at the moment. So, but the gazetted price is 33, but what the farmer is getting now is up to 50 shillings per litre, because of the demand for the milk and milk product. And we want to be able to sustain this pricing, so it will not be a big challenge in that area. So there are no challenges. The farmers are able to tell us. The processors are in touch with us. We have ensured that the farmers from their own cooperatives, the processors are able to speak together and be able to ensure that there's compliance. Actually, what we are advocating for is self-regulation, so that the farmers can be able to regulate themselves and the processors are able to do regulation, so that we work on issues, mitigate issues that are affecting the sector, not the policing things that we have said it should be done in the right way. So we have promoted self-regulations. We avail this information in our websites. We avail them through trainings and various platforms for communication to ensure that everybody, every player within the dairy sector is familiar.
When the reserve price of 33 shillings, was set up, there was a pro among dairy farmers who felt that this price was too close to the profit margins, bearing in mind that according to a research that was done by Tegemeo Institute in collaboration with Egerton University, they concluded that it takes about production of 1 liter of milk in Kenya among the smallholder farmers, cost between 27 to 30 shillings. And so when you set the reserve price, I mean, it means that, a farmer is left with a margin profit of 3 shillings. Is that motivating enough to ensure or to encourage more farmers to jump into dairy farming?
Actually, you are making reference to an earlier report that we did with Tegemeo in 2016. We did another review on the cost of milk production to check if there's been an improvement. And I can tell you there's been an improvement from the 27 to now 24 to 22 in terms of the cost of milk production. So you can see that there's a lot of activities or interventions that have been put in place to bring down the cost of milk production.
How did you manage to arrive at that, bearing in mind that the cost of feed has appreciated in the last 2 years by almost 40%?
Yes, it did, but in the process of that, what has government done? It has gazetted importation of yellow maize, that duty-free, to ensure that we lower the cost of feed in the country. So whenever the cost goes up because of various external could you call it external issues that are beyond us, for example, COVID. During the COVID period, we used to get our protein from EAC and other regions, but during that period, we were not able to get because of disruption of logistics. So it affected the price, and that's the reason why the price of the cost of feed, of course, went up. And that's how government came with an intervention of duty waiver so that they can look at other markets and be able to lower the cost of feed.
The importation of yellow maize, I mean, was a major boost, to dairy farmers. But that is just one of the ingredients or input that goes into production of maize feed. I mean, animal feed. And just I think about a month, Zambia, where a lot of Kenyans, imported the soya, which is also another ingredient, banned the export of the same. Also posing another challenge, to dairy farmers in Kenya. Have we come up with an alternative way, or what is happening basically?
Within that Gazette notice, we only did not indicate the yellow maize. We also included soya and the protein, the various proteins. When you look at the structure of what was included, we also included the soya because that was carbohydrates, and then we had the proteins. All were zero rated to allow the feed millers to come and, of course, to lower the cost of production. So, of course, Zambia was protecting their farmers, which is their right, but we had to look at other markets. We didn't want to limit ourselves, and we opened for the feed processors to be able to look for those ingredients in other markets, not just in Zambia, because that was our major source. Not just Zambia, we also had our EAC partners. They also had the same protein. But during this COVID period, there was a bit of disruption, logistical disruptions. But however, we have been able to mitigate, and slowly it is be able to pick up.
As a country, I mean, because even the meteorological department is warning that we are not likely to have sufficient rains, going forward. And so you expect, the current milk shortage to continue for a while. What measures have we put in place to ensure that we don't suffer complete lack of milk going forward?
We are not likely to suffer completely. If we were to get rains, which I'm sure the rains are going to come soon, we'll be able to reverse that trend of shortage. So we're looking at, of course, the improvement of the rainfall in the country. Even with the strain of the rainfall, we'll be able to mitigate the same. we're looking at internal. We don't want to look at the external intervention at the moment. We're looking at internal growth internally to support our sector.
The rains that we're expecting, between the month of April, May and June, the meteorological department is saying that it will be below par. And so with that information in mind, what alternatives are we looking at?
We'll be able to make a decision then when completely we have strained as a sector. But at the moment, we're looking at, of course, able to improve the production within the country. So then
what options are on the table?
At the moment, we have not deliberated on the options, but we're looking at encouraging our farmers to produce much more, feed the cows, give them water, and there will be improvement of milk in the country.
You see, and this has always been an issue, milk production, per cow is about 7-8 liters. And you'd want them to increase these, and they're increasing these against rising cost of production and a scarcity of rain. How are they expected to do that?
All right, generally it is, as a farmer, there are 3 aspects that a farmer looks at. They look at the genetics, they look at the feed, and they look at the management part of it. Those are some of the areas that we intensively look at for a farmer to be able to produce much more. We are alive to the fact that the production per cow in the country average is actually 7 to 10 liters, which we can do much better, because even within the country there are those who are even doing 35 liters per cow.
The commercial.
Yes, they're doing the 10 liters, and we want to push our farmers to even get to 15 from where we are at the moment. And the issue of cost is actually because of certain inefficiencies also within ourselves at the farm level. If the farmer can be able to eliminate some of those inefficiencies, the one you have mentioned, for example, increasing the production. When it is lower, it is very inefficient. But if you are to increase, it becomes more efficient. Even when you look at the studies that we have undertaken, even the one we did with Tegimeo, look at labor. Labor is very expensive even at farm level. Yes, labor costs within the farm level. So those are some of the inefficiencies that you can see, how you can improve so that you lower the cost. Because we'll be looking at one aspect of feed and the other aspects even of labor. And there are many interventions within at the farm level that you can be able to eliminate certain inefficiencies. You look at your breed. Which one is the right breed that I can support as a farmer, as a small-scale farmer, with my feed? Which one? So that you make the right choice to be able to grow. Cheers.
Cheers. You see, when you go to the supermarket, you discover that, on average, a packet of 1 liter of milk, will cost between 120, 130 shillings. A farmer, at best will get about 50, 45 shillings, for the same. Why that low margins, on the end of the farmer? And is it something that can be improved?
Actually, it is, we are looking at one side of the profitability, that is the farmer. Along the dairy value chain, there are very many players. Remember, we have the farmer producing the 7 liters, between the 7 liters to the 10 liters per cow. Probably that farmer has maybe 10 liters per day. Then we have a transporter transporting this milk
to the processor.
First to the cooling facility if there is around that area. Then from the cooling facility, it is transported to the processor. And then it is processed and taken to the consumer. Within all this, along the dairy value chain, there is a cost implication. Remember, even processing. Processing alone is is not also has a cost, yeah, because there's packaging, there's everything, there's a cost. So when you look at, in fact, if you look at, if you go to our website, we've even done profitability. We also do not want to drive out the processor because we will buy the milk from the farmer. We also want the same to make some little money to be able to continue supporting the farmers. So we just don't look at the farmer. We look at the sector. And we even look at the consumer. And even when you are looking at that, be alive to the fact that, of course, the global challenge of the cost, rising cost because of COVID. Yeah? Yeah. So that also affects us as a sector.
Margaret, I know you're a dairy farmer in your own capacity, but from where you sit or from where you stand, do you think it is fair, to pay a Kenyan farmer between 40 and 45 shillings for a litre of milk in this country?
Based on the studies that we've undertaken and looked at the cost, yeah, even when you look at the global, not just within the country, you look at the EAC partner states and you look at the global pricing structures, we are very competitive as a sector. Go and review the international prices paid to the farmers.
I can give you, like, for example, one of Danone of France, whereby farmers, they take home about between 50 and 60% of the profit margins.
Yes, but what have they done? They have commercialized this sector.
Can we get to that point?
Yes, we are. We would like to commercialize our sector so that our farmers can enjoy something called economies of scale.
There has always been complaints about, brokers and middlemen within the value chain, within the milk value chain. And I know in the past you have, embarked on serious campaigns to try and rid the sector of these middlemen. But, they disappear and then they come back again. Do we have a permanent solution to this kind of a challenge?
We can support them and they can be able to do things within the law. They can be able to trade, yeah, in line with the regulations. What has been the biggest challenge is, of course, when they pick the milk from the farmer to the market or to the consumer, the product could be compromised. And that is our concern. And what we did...
Compromise in terms of quality?
Quality, yes. Quality. So what we did is to take them through training and tell them, which segment of the dairy value chain would you like to play a role? Yeah? If it is bulking, because I would like to buy from the small scale, bulk, and take it to the cooler or take it to the processor, we will train you so that you do it properly. Yeah? It's because you are supporting the farmer, you're supporting yourselves, and you're also supporting the sector. But we do it within the laws of the country to ensure that the milk is not compromised and it is good and is safe for consumption.
The other issue is about the issue of value addition. Yeah. And in terms of value addition, we're talking about, farmers and companies, joining forces to diversify, the production varieties. We're talking about yogurt, we're talking about cheese, we're talking about high-end products like Greek yogurt. Are farmers being encouraged to go into that direction, bearing in mind that this is where they are likely to get maximum returns?
Now the growth of other products now of UHT, long life, is now about 85%. And we see yogurt coming up. We see flavored milk coming up very well. We see consumption of cheese coming up. And now you can see the farmers are very interested to know how can they add value, to their products. And we avail ourselves to be able to train, of course, with other stakeholders. The support we get from other stakeholders, from the county government, to train these farmers on value addition.
You're talking about consumption of dairy products in this country, and look, for example, per capita consumption of milk in Kenya, which, by the way, is the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. At about 110 liters, every year. But how do we increase these through various campaigns? I know there was an attempt, to bring back the school milk feeding program, which would have significantly boosted, milk uptake in this country. Are we yet there? And if no, what other measures are we putting in place to ensure that we boost milk consumption in Kenya?
Well, the program of the school milk, of course, is the reason why we are the highest. We would say that we attribute that to the school milk programs that we had then, I think in the 1978 or around.
It started back in 1986, and then it died somewhere around 1994.
What we are doing is, of course, to promote consumption of milk in the country. So we usually have, of course, the cheese week. We have school milk programs, and within the county, we have 88 counties now who give the children school-going children milk. So we want to actually promote, even ensure that the 47 counties adopt the school milk programs.
Yeah, before I let you go, Madam Margaret, where do you see, the industry going by the time we get to the year 2030?
Quite a bit. I see a lot of development in that sector. One of the areas that I look at is improved genetics or animals. Yeah, I see commercialization of the industry. Yeah, so that you can increase production, and of course, embracing mechanization. And of course, variety of products, diversification of products and milk and milk products in the sector. I also see us looking at other markets, not only internally. I look at export market, growing the export market as a country, not just for internal consumption, for external markets. And we will continue sustaining, being a lead, not only in EAC, also in Africa, and we want to be in that space. And we have put in programs and interventions to ensure that we sustain our growth in those areas. We want to look at how we can mitigate areas of issues of weather. When we have drought, like now, we should not experience anything like shortage. Those are some of the areas that now we will look at by that 2030. Because government, of course, has invested in water. And water is key for animals. And it is available now water in most parts of the country, especially the milk producing counties, will be able to get water. So we'll be looking at, of course, we'll also look at increased production per cow, going up to even up to 20 per cow. And we'll also see the dairy cooperatives becoming more and more organized, the sector becoming more organized. So, and utilization of our installed capacities. Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us, and of course to help us understand what we are doing to develop the dairy industry in Kenya.
Thank you too. Continue having finish your milk.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, we've been talking to Margaret Rugut Kibogy. She's the managing director of Kenya Dairy Board, on what the board is doing to help in the development of dairy industry in this country. And of course, you have heard it. My advice to you is, let's continue drinking. Let's drink more. And of course, for a more healthier and more prosperous country. And so, let's drink milk. Enjoy. You have been watching Inside the Garment. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.